Now let's talk about today's realities and how to leverage them to become the trusted advisor that actually your hiring manager really needs. If I sound a little different on this slide, it's because when I did the original recording, I messed this one up and I wanted to redo it for you. So the first thing to recognize and to look to leverage is the reality that people have very short attention spans, all of us today. And it's a less words world. Things have to be shorter, faster, they have to communicate more quickly, and they have to be more engaging. So this research that was done by Harvard Business School and Microsoft discovered that adults today have an attention span of about 7 seconds. So what that means is that people will tune us out faster and faster. So they might be looking at you on Zoom, they might be breathing into the phone, but they're thinking about lunch or their next meeting. And why the goldfish? Because it turns out the goldfish will give you 9 seconds before they decide if it's boring and move on. So what this means is that you need new communication style to keep them listening to you, to keep them engaged and willing to do the things that you're talking about. So, for example, when you have a conversation with your hiring manager about the realities of recruiting, something you'd like to change, etc., that old rule of bring lots of data, bring lots of examples probably doesn't work in the world today for most people. So I created and tested many times a strategy for having a conversation in the new style to get the change that you want. It's what I call focus on the elephant, not the poop. And I'll make sure that you get a copy of that strategy. So the 7-second attention span thing doesn't mean you have to say everything in 7 seconds, though it's kind of fun to try that from time to time. It just means you have to engage that person within those 7 seconds. And the good news is there are actually 3 very powerful ways to do that, very simple ways. This is about the language of influence. And the first way that can totally build your consultative recruiter connection to your hiring manager is to ask questions. And the last reality is that you cannot wait to be anointed, appointed, or invited to be a trusted advisor. And so when you step into using the strategies, you'll quickly begin to see a new relationship that's forming between you and your hiring managers. And this works well with your HRBPs, your management, works everywhere. And what I've learned is that cosmetic changes have very little, sometimes no power to change your relationships. So one talent acquisition director I was working with told me that she had lots of complaints from her hiring managers about the recruiters. So her first inclination, and she did this, was to change their title to recruiting advisors. No improvement, no surprise. And then she told me that she had turned over her entire team of 10 recruiters. She thought if she brought in new recruiters, the issues would go away. And she did that in 6 months. And so here again, no improvement, no surprise, because these kinds of changes will not change your relationship. So when you start using the consultative recruiter principles and strategies, you get real business partnerships, those relationships that give you more influence and credibility.